Saturday afternoons at Bounce Zone USA in Sugar Land, Texas were usually chaos with a side of nacho cheese. But on this particular Saturday, the birthday party balloons barely had time to deflate before the entire place went silent because 10-year-old Jordan Daniels had to be carried out, not with a goodie bag, but in the back of an ambulance. At the center of the mess, Caleb Prescott. Age 10, slightly taller, big on energy, short on filters, and according to him it was just one kick. Judge Monroe didn't look impressed. She leaned forward, eyes narrowed like a hawk circling dinner. One kick, she repeated. Jordan had a bruise the size of a grapefruit on his ribs, and couldn't breathe. You sure about that, Caleb? Caleb glanced at his parents, then at the scuffed courtroom floor. Well, I told him to stop throwing the ball at me. Okay, the judge nodded. Then what? He didn't stop, so I kicked him. Just once. Let's rewind, shall we? It all started during free play in the foam pit. Jordan and Caleb were doing what boys do, jumping, trash talking, and tossing basketballs at each other like it was the NBA Finals. Caleb claims Jordan hit him first, not once, not twice, 4 times. That's when Caleb says he lost it. His words, not mine. Jordan's version, completely different. We were joking, he said. Then Caleb got mad and kicked me super hard. I fell. I couldn't breathe. And guess what? His mom saw it happen from the snack bar. She screamed loud enough to stop the music. Back in court, the parents chimed in like backup singers with wildly different tunes. Caleb's dad, Michael, stood with arms crossed, visibly annoyed. Boys roughhouse. It happened. You don't call an ambulance over one little push. Push. Jordan's mom, Felicia, nearly combusted. My son had a panic attack. He was gasping for air. You want to call that a push? Judge Monroe raised a hand. Unless one of you wants to be held in contempt, zip it. The tension could have snapped a trampoline. Now here's the twist. The incident was caught on a grainy security camera. No audio, just action. The clip showed Jordan tossing a ball once, twice, then Caleb stepping forward, and bam, a kick that knocked Jordan straight onto the mat. You could almost hear the air leave his lungs just watching it. Back in her seat, Judge Monroe tapped her pen. So Caleb, after he hit you a few times, why didn't you walk away? I dunno, he muttered. I didn't think about it. I was just mad. Well, guess what? You're not on trial for your thoughts, son. You're here because of your actions. And that's when the courtroom got quiet. The kind of quiet that makes even the bailiff stop checking his watch, because everyone, Caleb, Jordan, and their parents, realized something. This wasn't just about one kick. It was about what happens when no one teaches a kid how to walk away before they explode. Let me get this straight, Judge Monroe said, adjusting her glasses. Your son was injured, but somehow made it to the dodgeball court afterward. That came from Michael Prescott, Caleb's father, who had a smirk on his face like he just cracked the whole case wide open. He was laughing, playing, throwing dodgeballs. Michael continued. We saw it on the center's camera. Doesn't sound like a collapsed lung moment, does it? Felicia Daniels, Jordan's mom, gritted her teeth like she wanted to throw a dodgeball herself. You saw 15 seconds of footage, she snapped. You didn't see him crying in the car or throwing up on the way to the ER. The judge blinked. So we have a child who looked fine 1 minute and couldn't breathe the next. Did anyone get a medical diagnosis or just social media sympathy? The room got spicy. Felicia opened a folder with such force it nearly ripped. Contusion, rib trauma, elevated heart rate. It's all here, she said, slapping the papers down like courtroom Uno cards. Any broken bones? Monroe asked, scanning them. No, but no fractures, no internal bleeding, no cracked ribs. That's what this says. Felicia's confidence faltered. Michael leaned over to Caleb and whispered something, probably along the lines we're winning, but they weren't, not yet, because the real drama wasn't about bones, it was about bruised truths. And Judge Monroe wasn't here for theatrics. She was after contradiction. Caleb, she said, slowly, you told us Jordan hit you 4 times before you kicked him. Why didn't you tell that to the staff at Bounce Zone when it happened? Caleb froze. I didn't think it mattered. You didn't think it mattered, Monroe repeated. Because according to the incident report filed by staff, you were the one being held back, not Jordan. Now it was Caleb's story bouncing all over the place. Then, like a referee blowing the whistle, the security footage rolled again. This time, another angle, one that showed Caleb lunging before any ball even left Jordan's hands. Felicia's voice shot through the courtroom. That's what I saw. That's exactly what I told you. Michael went silent. So did Caleb. Now we're in interesting territory, Judge Monroe said with a sharp grin, because this video shows something very different from what was just testified under oath. She turned to Caleb again. Son, I need you to think real hard before answering. Did Jordan hit you before you kicked him? Long pause. No ma'am. Boom. That sound, that's the sound of a courtroom shifting its emotional weight. Judge Monroe nodded. Thank you for finally telling the truth. Now we can begin to untangle this. Because it wasn't just about bruises or birthday balloons. It was about two families, and the uncomfortable truth that both kids might be pawns in a game of parental pride and courtroom chess. The courtroom was quiet again, not because the drama had ended, but because Judge Monroe had just pressed pause on everything. She sat back in her chair, flipping through the file with one hand, the other tapping the gavel slowly like a drum roll before a reckoning. So Jordan didn't actually cry until his mom came running in, she asked the Bounce Zone staff member now on the witness stand. That's correct, said Mandy, the assistant manager. He got hit, lay there maybe 20 seconds, then stood up, looked dazed, sure, but not crying. Then his mom burst in and well, then came the tears. A low ripple of tension moved through the room like a bad draft. Felicia's face flushed. You think I coached my son to cry, she barked. No one said that, the judge replied. But I'm saying kids are emotional weather balloons. Sometimes they rise, sometimes they burst, and sometimes it's the adults doing all the blowing. Michael let out a single smug chuckle. Wrong move. Judge Monroe turned to him now. And you, she said, should have taught your son to walk away instead of making excuses for why he didn't. He looked like a 6'2" teenager who just got sent to the principal's office. Then came the paperwork, the hospital report, the inconsistent. The medical team's notes clearly said, no visible signs of trauma upon arrival, complained of discomfort but stable, possible psychosomatic episode triggered by anxiety. In other words, Jordan might have panicked more from the chaos than from the kick. And guess what? That still didn't make Caleb right. Here's what I believe, Judge Monroe said, locking eyes with both boys. Caleb, you were angry, you acted out, you knew what you were doing, and you lied about it. Caleb nodded. Quietly. Jordan, you got scared, your body shut down, and somewhere along the line you started repeating what made everyone around you feel better. Jordan looked away. The truth didn't have a side in this courtroom, it just had scars, some real, some emotional, all avoidable. And then she delivered the judgment. No monetary damages, she said. You're not getting a check for a panic attack or for birthday drama. What you're getting is a warning, both families. You need to talk to your kids, not for them, with them. She banged her gavel. Case dis. Outside the courtroom, the families avoided eye contact. The boys stood awkwardly near each other until finally, Jordan offered a small fist bump. Caleb hesitated, then returned it. No ambulance this time, just two kids trying to be human again, and two sets of parents left to wonder if the real damage hadn't started after the kick.